All right. Welcome to the first recorded game of No Meta League Season 2. This is our Week 1 game. Looks like we're going up against Sacrifice Glass with Zerith Fantome. Uh, this is my friend borrowing my deck to play Zerith Fantome and using my playmat. So you might see this playmat later down the week because it's mine. On the right, we have Austin playing Sacrifice Glass, who is a friend of the channel. He's put up his Sacrifice Glass guide on the channel before, and he's been keeping the deck updated with each new release. So we'll be excited to see how this plays out. Deciding who goes first and second here. And it's the first, second cards, and Sacrifice Glass is going to be going first. That's critical. Sacrifice Glass is a deck that doesn't win until at least turn 6. It's a very slow deck. Zerith Fantome is also not exactly a fast deck. These are two decks that take a long time to get going, that can play for deck out and stall if need be. Whereas Sac Glass has board control, Zerith has recursion. So we'll see how these two things interact. Get some mulligan decisions here. Adjusting the camera a little bit. The audio was really loud in the store, so we're just going to be using my voiceover here. Looks like mulligans are almost done, and they are going to be presenting to cut here and getting started any second now. This is an interesting mulligan decision for both these decks because Zerith really wants to get a bunch of orders in its opening hand, but Sacrifice Glass can aggro you a little bit. So if you get too greedy and get rid of everything, then you can end up stuck and get pressured harder than you want. And likewise, if you aggro really hard, but you don't have any of the moons, then when Sac Glass retires your board going first while you're on grade 2, you might struggle to rebuild a board after. Although you'll always at least get the free unit if you have the grade 3 order in your set order zone, which you always will. And I also play Roaming Prison Dragon in my list, which is basically a free unit every turn, so you can at least get a front row in this deck. Sac Glass will be wiping your entire board, generally speaking, every turn, and also taking away that important 10k shield token that Zerith Fantome gets in the back row center. So, yeah, setting up the energy. I think the deck box I gave him had no energy in it, so he had to grab some from his own. Resolving his skills. We're going to be grabbing 3 orders here. Zerith Fantome gets to grab a 1, 2, and a 3 set order that are 1-ups and have the effect that only one of them can be activated each turn. And one of them draws and discards, or draws a card if it's the first time you activate it. And one of them gives 5k to something, and one of them gives the effect that you call something from drop, and it turns off its on-plays abilities. You do get to draw a card if one of these is in your hand, but you don't get to draw 2 cards if you have 2, so you gotta prioritize mulliganing those away at all costs. So we got those set orders set up. We're going second, so this should be a add 5k to Vanguard and attack for 13 turn, but let's see what ends up playing out. This deck can go for early rush if you have the moon in your opener, or if you have the grade 1s, and we're seeing a grade 1 come down here. The grade 1 for Zerith Fantome lets you check the top 3, and you can put up to one of them in the drop, and then you shuffle. A really good effect. This deck wants to get a lot of pieces in the drop zone, specifically the Grand Magic orders, and Roaming Prison Dragons as well. And here he bins a Persona Ride. Later, this is going to matter. It's going to come into effect far down the line. I do think you have to prioritize keeping your Personas here, but this is also, I think, one of his first times playing the deck, and he's figuring it out. And there is appeal here. Maybe he thought he had an aggressive hand or something and didn't think the game would go that long. But regardless, we lose a Persona here. If we manage to, we have an early rush here. We have 2 grade 1s attacking. So if we can force through damage, maybe we don't need that Persona. But we'll see how this game turns out. Oh, taking a damage. And that's the order for Sac Glass. That's actually pretty rough because they need to play that every single turn from turn 3 onwards. And now that's 1 more that they can't draw. And we get, but then we get the heal right away, and the order's in the drop. And the grade 1 for Sac Glass lets you play it from the drop, so he's set up now for at least turn 3 and 4. Assuming he draws the grade 1. Gaining 3 energy here. he gets a free ride, allowing both players to draw a card. And then we see coming down here, a grade 2. Let's get some dual laning. I personally am the kind of guy who likes to go rearguard Vanguard on the grade 2 rush to play around defensives, but it is always technically more pressure to do it the other way. Here we see the 15k come down, a front trigger, so he got rewarded. 20 coming in, and we're getting our first damage here. Zerith can usually afford to take 1 damage going into turn 2 in order to use their specific grade 2 support. Coming in, 3 energy. All right, let's take a look at what's going to be the play this turn. All right, we got a discard Grand Magic. That is a really solid ride fodder discard because we can play it from drop later. Riding up to the 2. The 2 doesn't do anything right away, but let's see what we got going on. We're activating the set order. We're going to be drawing a card, just free value. Ooh, slamming down the Eclipsed, the Crimson Moonlight. That's going to give us great board building, filtering, potentially digging into pieces because our Grand Magic Order, I believe, also counts as a Crimson Moon for the purposes of the Moonlight Order. Let's see what's in this top 5. Ooh, we're adding another Crimson Moon. Still fine. That's the compression. That's guaranteeing 1 safely. And hopefully not breaking on it later. The only problem with Zerith is that you do want to play all these moons early because after turn 3, you will never have a window to play the moon ever again unless you brick on a Grand Magic. So it's important to go moons every turn in this deck as much as you can, or to discard moons aggressively or mill them. Here we got the grade 2. We have 3 Phantom units now, so we're getting a top 3 check, which is pretty good. We get to add 1, and we get to mill a normal order or Phantom from the rest of the pile. We're thinking about it, which means that it's a tough choice. Either none of the options are good, or multiple options are good. Let's see what ends up going down here. Don't get to see what he added, but... And we're milling Grand Magic. That's basically perfect. That's what we would wish for if we were cheating. All right. We're getting a nice little setup here. Unfortunately, this grade 1 isn't hitting anything. Maybe we should have called the grade 2 in front of it, but... Okay. All right, we got another top 3 check. Milling another grade 1, just compressing the deck, getting the Phantoms out. All right. All right. We're stewing a little bit before battle, but we're going to be coming in here. All right, Vanguard first. I guess hoping to hit a front to make this grade 1 hit. Coming in with the drive check. All right. No defensive. That means we get our full pressure. Here's an 18. Going to be forcing out probably a 15k guard or just a no guard. Going up to 3 for Sack Glass early is good for us. We don't want Sack Glass to get to their full endgame here. I'm associating myself with the Zerith player, even though technically both these players are my friends. So, riding up, getting that Soul Blast, getting to search the order out. So we've got our order set up for actually 3 turns now that I think about it, because this one goes to hand. So we can play this one, play it from drop with the grade 1 next turn, and then play the other one that we healed out from the drop. So actually, our Sack Glass deck is set up pretty well here. Switching over, we've got a shuffle here, and let's see what the board setup is like this turn. Okay, that looks like the grade 1 for Sackglass, which will let us play the order from the drop on future turns. Zerith doesn't have board control, so we should be fine. We've got... I can't quite see what that card is because of the shadow. Let's see. Oh, there's our 3 more energy. This deck is going to use and abuse that energy pretty hard. All right. What's coming down here? Oh, we got the order coming down for Counterblast 1. And... he's explaining the effect of the order here to his opponent. You get to fill the board on your opponent's side from their drop zone with no abilities. You turn off all abilities of everything. So this deck can actually kill the blast token from his Stacion. And then he gets to draw a card for, I think, every 3 open spots or something. I know he draws 3 if he has all but 1 spot filled. Maybe it's every 2 spots or something. Yeah. Okay. He explained that he needed to call 1 more weird to get 3 cards in the original game audio. So we are looking at what to call. I'm guessing he didn't hit good attackers because he's stewing over this for a while. Let's see what we got going here. All right, we got an ace unit. That's basically the perfect attacker, aside from the Medulla, I think is what it was called. Getting that top 7 check, we get to add 1 to Soul and then call from Soul. We're probably just going to add an attacker, or a booster in this case, and call that straight to the board. Let's see what we got here. Stewing over the decision a little bit. All right, what do we got? All right, throwing a Musi into Soul. And then calling that out. That gives Sackglass the highest potential if we are able to get to 10 energy with our retire effects this turn. That will max us out and let us draw 2 cards, which is the ideal scenario for this deck. But let's see what ends up going down here. He's explaining the skill for Sackglass, how whenever something is retired from Rear or Guardian, he gets the energy charge 1. Alright, retiring stuff for the attack. Getting rid of the Interceptor, obviously. Got coming in for a 21 with Twin. Alright, that's a fat no guard. Checking Persona and a crit. Alright, so we got some pressure going on here. First defensive is a front. And let's see what that second check is. Looks like it's another crit. So we've got plus 20 to our Vanguard and plus 10 to our front row rear. That's going to make it a little bit harder for Sackglass to pressure this deck meaningfully, but having already shoved in 3 damage is pretty good. Rewriting into Grand Dogma. For those of you unfamiliar with this deck, Grand Dogma gets ridden from drop, hand, or deck by the effect of Sacrifice Glass after it attacks. Grand Dogma has to go to Bind Zone at the end of turn, unless you have 2 Grand Dogmas in Bind Zone already. And that delays the deck's ultimate turn for quite a while. But Grand Dogma is a free restanding Vanguard, although it does not restand on the first turn you have one. Gets a decent amount of power, and it does have some board control staple to it. All right. Oh, so I misunderstood. The card that we have in play here is one of the new cards for Sacrifice Glass. Lets you put a card from hand to soul to get a drive check, which is pretty solid. And then we are Soul Blasting when retiring to getting a 5k bonus to the front row. That's going to give us a little bit more pressure. Kind of, sort of, canceling out the front, but not the other defensive. All right. It looks like we're ready to start going back to battle. And let's see how this ends up going. We got the Grand Dogma swinging in. The Moosey over there is getting 10k from the Vanguard swinging because we're on Grand Dogma and not Sacrifice class. And we're hard guarding this and energy blasting to draw because that is the Phantom Energy Cycler for Stoicheia. You can discard them to ride in order to find a Blood Moon, or you can guard with them and Energy Blast 3 to draw. You can also pay Soul Blast for the Moon Search and Counter Blast for the draw. We hit a heal again. Sack Glass is staying pretty low with these heals. Already negated 2 damage. What you want to see in a late game control deck that needs to get to at least turn 6. Getting another Retirin. Alright. Getting more energy. We'll see if we get up to 5 to get that card draw from the booster. Debating our attack pattern here. Coming in for a decent number. I can't quite make out what it is. Coming in with a 33 on the next attack. All right. Popping off with all the end of turn skills. We did get that 5 energy to draw a card. And we got the card binding itself. And we got Sack Glass with a pretty large hand size here. And I'm off camera here actually, and they're showing me the triggers they hit because I was in a conversation with someone off to the side. So I'm seeing that we got a pretty trigger heavy turn overall. Discarding Twin Cast to ride up to 3, great discard fodder. Now we get to resolve the grade 2 of the ride line. We get to search for a Moon or a Grand Magic. Let's see what he ends up searching for. It's basically just whichever order you need more of. Usually you grab Grand Magic because you need to play one of those every turn. But grabbing the moons and you already have a bunch just helps you get 4 moons and drops so you can activate that Phantom skill sooner. Alright, we found the moon because we already got a decent number of Grand Magics in the drop, I think, for this game. He's getting the ability that you can play 2 orders with different names this turn. This lets you play a Moon and Grand Magic on the first grade 3 turn. But from the rest of the game forward, you can't do that. So it's important to get those active earlier. Because that Zerith got called from drop by the Sacrifice Glass order, we did get to keep a free unit sticking around, which is pretty cool, actually. And then we're playing the Moon order. Let's check the top 5 and see what we get. Alright, we got the Ace unit, which is pretty sick. That's probably one of the best cards in the deck. So, really all the Ace unit is going to be looking for here is a better attacker instead of the Zerith Persona ride we discarded earlier. We're going to see what we get out of this top 7 check. Getting that free 5k for the unique skill. Spending the 3 energy. Once you get out of the early turns, Zerith is pretty free with its energy. But the early turns you always have to spend on cyclers, so energy is tight. Alright. They are getting in a sidebar conversation right now discussing the translation of Welstra's ability for the Phantom version. All right, we picked a Roaming Prison Dragon, which is a pretty solid card to mill. And then we're going to see what he decides to call from drop. All right. There's more discussion about new cards happening off camera here. All right. At this point, Adam is explaining that he hoped that Welstra would build a battleship out of multiple products instead of being a pseudo Aquaforce card, which I think would have been pretty cool too. All right, let's see what we got from drop to grab. We're calling another grade 1 just to get more deck compression, which is fine. That is a good way to make sure we hit triggers. Hitting heals would be pretty good here. We've managed to get another Roaming Prison Dragon out of the deck, so that's 2 dead cards gone. Always really solid. This now lets us loop the Roaming Prison Dragons every turn, or if need be, when we're completely out of gas, to just call 2 Roaming Prison Dragons to have a full front row. Getting the cut here. All right, and let's see what we're going to call with the grade 3 order, if anything. Oh, playing Grand Magic first. Getting another one of those in bind. Or getting the first one in bind because we went second. All right, we got 5k to all of our Phantom units. All right. Calling the RPD, because it is a 15k attacker, it's a little bit better than the, oh no, did he went for crit here, I think, which is fine, I guess. Or is he, yeah. Yeah, because it'll be, it's an 18k attacker with crit, I think. If you hit fronts, it's fine. All right, got our board set up here. Yeah. All right. Waiting for him to activate and get the token. Counting up all of our power mounts. All right, we got the counterblast. Getting the Zerith token. Zerith token is a 13k grade 3 that can perform a 1 drive check from the back row and has the ability that when your unit is attacked, it can retire itself to give 10k power on your opponent's turn, and it always retires itself at the end of the opponent's turn. All right. I think he activated the grade 2 order to draw and discard. All right. All right, we're going Vanguard first in the front row. So we've got a nice 18k with Twin Drive here. He is no guarding. We got a crit right off the bat. That's always solid. And we're going power to the Roaming Prison Dragon oh, and a heal. So we hit crit heal. That's excellent drive checks right off the bat. And we've got a lot of power slinging around. Oh, and a Grand Dogma to the damage. Grand Dogma in the damage is the worst thing that can happen to Sack Glass, I believe. If they hit too many of them and they can't heal them out, that's basically game over. Coming in here with an 18k 1 drive. I didn't see any defenses. Okay, we've got a big number here. Does not hit. Didn't drive check anything super relevant. All right, debating attack patterns here. Counting to make sure we have 10 and drop to get the full power on the ace unit. That makes it a plus 15 overall. Adding up the numbers here. Guarding with a 43. And then coming in with the RPD. All right. None of those last 2 attacks hit, but that's fine. All right. He survived the first grade 3 turn. All right. At this point, off screen, someone is making a joke about the fact that the dates for one of the streams is 6/7. All right. Soul Blasting in order to get a card back. And then if we got additional power to that unit and to Sack Glass. Activating that grade 1 to do the play I mentioned a few turns back. We get to Soul Blast 1 and discard in order to grab a Saccharine Bait, I think is the name of the order. And that order will go back to bottom of deck after it's played. That's going to help Sack Glass win the deck out wars, by the way. All right, that's a full board. So Sack Glass is going to be able to draw 3 cards off this order for a +2 overall. And then we've discovered that because of the effect of Saccharine Bait, the Zerith Phantom token doesn't do anything. Quite unfortunate for Zerith. That's 10k shield off the board. And it's going to die at the end of Sack Glass's turn regardless, so that's just that's just a big penalty added to the CB cost for that. Instead of getting additional shield to make up for it, you basically just get a 13k one-drive attacker from back row. Can't benefit from Persona right either, so that card's looking a lot worse given the fact that Sack Glass can turn it off. That adds a nice, interesting dimension to this matchup, actually. All right, we're coming in. That is a proxy. The over trigger is banned in the No Meta League, but we didn't have a Stoichia trigger to swap out, so I allowed Adam to just turn the over trigger face down so that he could play it as a front trigger. At this point, we're seeing that guard not get broken, it looks like. Austin has a bit of a reputation for hitting multiple crits when given like a 2 to pass or 3 to pass in order to break it and win the game out of nowhere. Back from the Chrono Jet days when that deck used to compress super hard and then get triple drive. So we're getting the reride into Grand Dogma here. A solid +15 power. Giving a free draw to the opponent. One of the downsides of Sack Glass is it gives the opponent a lot of extra draw power. Activating our rear guard to get the extra drive. All right. Debating activating some skills or attack patterns, and looks like we're going to be coming in with Grand Dogma first. Oh. Adjusting the number to correct it. Got a 38 with 1 drive coming in. And we got a Philia for the drive check. And no trigger, it looks like. Oh, we got our grade 1s retired. All right. Coming in with a 43. taking that. Oh, we hit a defensive. And then coming with a 48 that gets guarded by a PG. Binding the Grand Dogma. With the dice. Binding the one rear guard. Drawing a card off of our grade 1. Getting an energy for the effect of Zerith Fantome token retiring itself. Going into Zerith's turn again. Drawing a card. Let's see if we got a Persona Ride. Oh, we do. That's good news. Getting that additional front row power and drawing. Zerith doesn't have that many attacks, only 4, so we need to make all of those attacks worth it. Coming in with our grade 2 Phantom unit, this lets us... We're going to be able to check the top 2 here because we didn't have anything else to call. He's realizing, I think, that he could have called more. Nope, he's just resolving his effect. So we could have activated the Vanguard to get the token first and gotten at least 3. And then maybe activated the grade 3 set order to get another one. We could have seen more cards here, but the deck's also pretty small. So there's not really that many things to hit left anyways. Got another grade 1. Dropping a energy cycler into the drop. And shuffling up our very compressed deck. Here, Zerith should be able to put back 4 triggers to get a very threatening drive check turn. All right. All right, resolving the second RPD to get rid of the first one. The play I mentioned earlier. Let's see what that set order play is going to be this turn. Looks like we're calling a card from drop here. Getting another grade 1. We turn off the abilities with that order, but then we're going to be counterblasting to get our Phantom token. We're still not going to get the benefit defensively, but we do need the pressure here. And this is a critical turn here. The deck is getting small. Sackglass is starting to snowball into its best turn. And things are going to get harder from here on out. Unfortunately, because we went second with Zerith, the Grand Magic Order is at 2 in bind, which means we're not going to be getting the additional power. So that's going to put us on the back foot in this matchup. Coming in with Vanguard first. This is an Elementaria to guard. What's our drive check looking like? Okay. Looks like we also do not activate our Phantom skill. Holding off for one more turn to play around deck out, I think. Hoping to survive against Sackglass again. Coming in with the 18k from the token with 1 drive. Guarding with a 33 for no pass. Hitting a front. It's a no pass because there's no overtrigger in this league. But that front is pretty great. Now we have our rearguard column coming in.
Yes, I know.
Coming in with a 58k attack. That grade 2 gets 5k power every time a grade 3 Phantom attacks. And then swinging in with the RPD column. With a 38 with a crit. Hoping to force through a lethal hit. But unfortunately guarded because of the defensive. Going in for another turn here. Fanning out the deck to see how close we are to deck out. I make a joke off screen that I asked him if he had activated his Phantom skill, and he said he forgot about it. And then I cracked a joke about outside assistance in the game because I reminded him the Phantom skill exists. He's looking through his drop zone. Let's see what we've got. Oh, we're activating a Medola to discard and play another Saccharine Bait from drop. And this is going to be another draw 3 for Sackglass. All right, we got our setup here. Ophelia coming down, giving us a solid back row booster for our Sackglass, or possibly for our Grand Dogma, depending on how he wants to do this. Crashing in. Getting double retire here. And getting 2 energy to go with it. No Persona, so this is just a 26k attack with Philia's effect because we played an order. Coming in with an Elementaria, discarding a Phantom Grade 2, checking a crit on the first attack. We have to put it on a rearguard with Sackglass because we rewrite our Vanguard anyways. And then Ophelia for the second check. All right. Spending our resources. Now we are on Grand Dogma again. And I think this is the Grand Dogma that gets to stay and play at the end of turn. And we will get 2 Vanguard swings with it, I believe, as well. So for a total of 3 Vanguard swings this turn. Offering the draw to the Zerith opponent because we do get a optional draw offered to the opponent with Grand Dogma. Resolving that Philia to draw. As you can see, this matchup goes to deck out very quickly. Both decks capable of compressing a lot, drawing a lot of cards. The Moosies are getting 10k. All right. We got an easy guard. Getting another wipe with Grand Dogma's effects. Getting a restood Vanguard. Getting more power to our rears because they scale off of every Vanguard swing. Offering up a PG to avoid dying. And getting more energy. Coming in with 48 with a crit. Eating another PG with 1 card in hand. Let's see what this last attack is going to be. All right. Seeing that he can't deal lethal, we have a pass. Getting a card draw. Even if that last rearguard had attacked and we got guard out of it, we still would have only hit 4 energy and been short of drawing 2 cards. Drawing a card. Do we have a Persona? No Persona. That Persona we dropped early may have come back to bite us now. But then maybe we would have died if we had a grade 3 in hand instead. So who can say? Looking to our drop to see what we've got. All right, checking the damage. We're activating Phantom skill finally to put back 4 moons. With a deck this small, we're basically guaranteed to hit all triggers this turn. But also because we're so close to deck out, it's unclear if we can afford to go for the put back heals play and stall. We most likely won't be getting another turn regardless. So let's see what triggers are going back. We got 2 crits right off the bat. We're apparently there's an only 2 crits somehow over the course of this entire game. So we're getting a crit, and 2 fronts going back, which is still going to be pretty good. I think both players are at high damage now. We can't quite see the sack glass damage. It got cut off at the edge of the camera. I'll try to find a better angle next time. All right. All right. We're soul blasting to get our last grand magic active. So now it's plus 10k to everything. Because we played that order, we get to call 2 more RPDs. We've got a front row. And going with power this time. Getting our grade 3 activation. Getting our grade 1. Getting our Zerith token. Unfortunately, it looks like we don't have one more Phantom unit to get a better column over on the side there. And so we are just shy of having a solid board. But here we're coming in for big number. Oh, we got a PG to stop this Vanguard attacking its tracks. Here we hit one of those fronts that we put back. And then a crit. Stacking everything up on the biggest attacker to hopefully force through and hope he doesn't have any PGs left. Coming in for 23 with 1 drive. Guarding for 38 for no pass. We hit that crit. Splitting the power in crits. $35 with a crit coming in. Guarding with a 38. 43 with crit coming in. I saw this. I corrected the number. All right, so we're guarding with a 58 total to stop this attack, which if we had hit Persona on this attack, is off screen I'm saying that if we had that last Persona that got milled, we'd be able to field slightly better numbers and we would have forced through lethal this turn. And Sack Glass doesn't have the order, so they can't do the play where they put back a crit into deck. We also can't take away the power of that Zerith Phantom token, so he's at full defensive capability. Time to see if Sack Glass can close the game out, getting the 3 energy for turn. This turn, it is just an Overlord. It gets the restand for free with Twin Drive both times, which is pretty scary. Especially since at this point in the game, Sack Glass can put back crits with the Saccharine Bait order. Just coming in with a 13 Twin Drive, though. He almost intercepted with RPDs, but remember, they don't have shield. 2 to pass coming in. All right. Slamming everything on Vanguard because we're getting a restand. Getting the back row to get rid of that Phantom token. Coming in. Coming in for 31 with a crit twin drive. Was able to guard that, but can he stop the last two attacks? Nope. And we had a crit. That is... Alright, coming in. Can he stop the last attack? Oh. Managed to guard. Passing the turn. Three attack cards left in deck exactly. So he's unable to do anything with the token. The token would deck him out. There's basically nothing left. I don't think he has any Grand Magics left either, unless he got the fourth one. Alright. Getting the Grand Magic effect. He's realizing his misplay here. He could have activated his Grade 3 Order in order to call over one of the RPDs and then gotten the RPD from drop called with Grand Magic Order over the second RPD to have a full front row. Realizing that he's misplayed and has no chance of winning against Sack Glass's hand, he just calls a full board. Alright. We've got a PG guarding that. Oh, we hit the front. I joked right a second ago that if he hits the front, maybe he's fine. Coming in with 15 to Van. Guarding for 18 to survive. Guarding with a 43. And with one card left in hand, if Adam had actually been able to do the setup to get a better front row, he might have actually been able to steal the win. And that is our No Meta League match for week 1. Keep your eyes peeled for more matches from this week going up. And we already have some video footage for matches from week 2. And we'll post that up. And I'll do a update presentation on the changes that will be happening after week 2.